And hello YouTube, welcome to this video. Now in this video, the last video we actually had a little bit of a problem, okay, and I was doing some things in Git to actually let me exit this first. I'll quit this, quit all, Git status. Yeah, so what actually happened was that when I tried to compile, okay, let me do git stash first. Okay, when I tried to compile this thing, well, and to do the dotnet test, I actually had this little error. It says XML library loader is used before it's been assigned a value. A null reference exception could result at runtime. Okay, so what's going on here? All right, and how can we overcome it? Okay, so let's go to let's open up the same file again. We open nut3. Okay, so hopefully this will be the last bit for this one. IXmlLibrarySelector over here. Okay, go down 13 down ZZ, 13 down ZZ. Never mind. Let me ls and I'll open the buffer number 4. Yeah, come on, buffer number 4, buffer 4. Okay, so yeah, the thing is that, okay, XML library loader is declared as a variable and then I immediately return it. Okay, not in all cases, you know, XML library loader will not be defined in all cases. So so yeah, that's the thing. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so how do we, yeah, so the XML library loader is only defined if this condition is met. In all other conditions we will get something like a null exception. Okay, so how do we actually play around with this? Okay, so how do we actually get rid of this compile error and still get the thing that we want? Okay, so the thing we have to think about is how do we want this program to behave if you don't supply the correct desired library, right? If you don't give the desired library that is if you don't give the right desired library, do you just want it to return a default library, or do you want it to throw an error? Okay, so let's think about it. If close this, of course, this is my other things. Okay, let me reopen Minder. Okay, obviously, I mean, I want to know if I'm loading the right libraries, right? If I'm loading a default library, I mean, it will make the coding a lot nicer, a lot more pleasant, less exceptions. Okay, but I want to know if there's an error. Okay, I want to know if there's an error. So can I make this thing actually throw an error when I select the wrong library, or you know, the supplied library name is invalid? Okay, I definitely want to do that. So how am I supposed to do this? Okay, so this is the library loader class. Okay, XML library loader. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, okay, at the end of the day, all right, I want to think about this. Okay, if this XML library loader is some sort of a default value, or you know, it is not found, I want it to throw an exception. Okay, so I will try to make it throw an exception, and I'll try to get rid of this compile message. Yeah, Okay, .NET test. Yeah. Whoa, what happened? .NET test. Okay, so somehow it's not yeah, let me delete that again. How come? Its status. Okay. That is very strange. Okay, never mind. Let me open again and see whether I saved the correct version. Okay, buffer 4. Yeah, div XML library loader as IXml library loader. Okay, let's do the test. Let's open the test file. Also, B1. .NET test. Let me try to see whether this. Yeah, okay. I got the error repeated. Okay, after making a change. Okay, so let's see. Why is this its status? Why is this thing showing an error? Oh, I think I know why. Right, so when I actually run .NET test, okay, let me explain first. When I actually run .NET test, okay, I actually start to build a DLL file of the .NET test, okay, which is this DLL file. The DLL file of the .NET test is being built, okay, and of course this .NET test will also check whether the netcore dwSimXML library, this library DLL, you want to check whether it's built. Okay, if it's already compiled, it's not going to compile again. It's not going to compile this library again. And if this library is not compiled again, obviously you won't have the same error down there. Okay, so the best way to repeat and to see whether the compile error is there or the compile warning is there is to do .NET build over here. Okay. So nothing's changed here, and then I will, if I make a change here and then I try to compile, I will get the warning. Okay. Then if I do it again because I did not make any changes, then the warning won't be there anymore. Okay. So I will need to do something about this warning. Of course. I will want to actually get rid of it so that every time it compiles it doesn't give this warning. So I will make a comment and then .NET build. Okay, it says variable XML library loader is being used before assign the value. That's what we have. Okay. So what are we going to do here? Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to make this code throw an exception if this thing is not loaded properly, or rather it is if this XML library loader is not loaded properly, I will make it throw an exception. Okay. So 17 down. I'll go on top. So let's see how do we make it how do we check for the exception or something like that. Okay, So this is the page of exceptions. That there are many exceptions you can throw. The specific exception I want to throw is this missing member exception. The exception that is thrown when there's an attempt to dynamically access a class member that does not exist. Okay, so I think this is close enough to what I want. Okay, otherwise, yeah, missing field, missing member, and missing method. Okay, these are some of the exceptions. Maybe DLL not found, entry point not found. Yeah, there are lots of exceptions here. Index out of range. It is an exception thrown when attempt is made to access an element of an array or collection with an index that is outside its bounds. Maybe this one is more telling of what this thing is. Yeah. Okay, so how do I do it? If XML library loader is nothing, okay, and if back to the left, right, and change this to up, open new line. Okay, so this is the if XML library loader is nothing. Okay, so that's the, this is how you do the is null. Okay, this is how you check if an object is null. If an object is null, I want it to throw an exception. Okay, what kind of exception? Throw new what exception is this? Throw new index out of range exception. Okay, and I'll put the exception message here. Okay, let's see what the index out of range exception class can do. How you are supposed to load a string. Let's look at the constructors of here's. You're supposed to load a string with a specified error message. So type your specified error message here. Okay. The library name you supplied to this to the class IXmlLibrarySelector class is invalid. Please check spelling or if library is available. Okay, so this actually gives us the right behavior of this XML library loader, get XML library loader thing. I want it to be able to throw an exception, okay, if it's not doing the right job. So let's make a unit test which actually tests for this exception thing. Okay, so oh right, the unit test is right here actually. I don't need to change screens. Okay, so ls, let's go to the unit test buffer 1. Okay, buffer 8 down, open new line. Let's have a fact test. Sub and sub test IXmlLibrarySelector exception test. Okay, and sub 1 2 3 4 and sub. Okay, and this should be oh, I should rename this test, right? CLW IXmlLibrarySelector should load dwSimLibrary. Okay, so that's what it should do. Oh right, my fact is on a different line. Back. Insert Good here. Yeah, there you go. So let's test the exception. So I'll pretty much copy and paste all of this. Yank this 6 up. Paste it here. DD 16 down. Open a new line. Okay, I'm not going to assert. Okay. Yeah, there should be a way to actually do this exception thing. So let's check if we can have an exception. CIW ABC some nonsense library. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I also want to check whether assert has an exception. Assert exception C#. How to use assert to verify if an exception has been thrown. Okay. Okay, so here is how we actually assert whether something throws an exception. Okay. But it needs an action and an object which alright, throws exception. Type needs a function delegate. Okay, maybe this one's better. Okay, assert throws exception X unit. Oh, okay. Here we go. Assert throws argument exception. Okay. Okay, maybe assert exception C#. Okay, we'll just use this one. Okay. Oh, this is the Microsoft Visual Studio assert, so it's not the same. Okay, assert throws will catch the exception and assert the type. You are, however, calling a method under test outside the assert exception and thus failing the test case. Okay, so this asserting a throw exception throw. Well, okay, I'm going to do that part in a bit. Let me do .NET test first, just to see whether an exception is thrown. Okay, I have a system IndexOutOfRange Exception, which is okay. The exception is correct. I want it to throw an exception, and indeed it did throw an exception. But I want to make it pass if the thing throws the right exception. Okay, so this is the exception I want it to throw. Okay, is the correct exception. Alright, maybe I'll edit the message a little bit also, because I want it to be clear to the end user of this class. So let's see. Buffer 1, buffer 4. So it's throwing the right error for sure. So this is behaving the way I want it to behave. Undo please. What? So IXmlLibrarySelector class in the IXmlLibs module is invalid. Okay, back. dwSimDotnetCoreLibraries XML library module is invalid. Okay, it also tells you the module now. At least it does that. Okay, so let's see what's the syntax of the assert throws exception. Okay, so first thing first, instead of asserting the type, okay, so one down for, okay, wrong, redo, save, one down 3dd. Okay, assert, I'm going to change this to throws. Okay, and then I need to specify the exception that's over here. This is index out of range exception. Index, okay, index out of range exception. So this is how I assert the exception. Then what am I supposed to do? The syntax here is well, there's this empty bracket right here. Okay, assert throws exception. Okay, I guess the way is this. You put two empty brackets, an arrow to the right, and then you put in the function that is supposed to make the exception. Okay, so let's see. Change in bracket, insert two brackets. Oh, this is C#. Okay, I need to change. Assert throws exception for Visual Basic. This is C#. I keep forgetting. Okay, assert throws in Visual Basic Net. Oh dear. Okay, but there's a C# way to do it. Let's look for Visual Basic ways to do it. No. Let me pause the recording. I'll fast forward to the bit where I actually find the exception. Okay, but maybe in the meantime I'll just test the C# way of doing these things first. So this is the C#. This is actually C# syntax. Okay, then I'll load in gibberish library. Okay, and then well, I'll go 9 up, delete these two, delete this. So this act and assert is like the same line here. Okay, let's see .NET test. I'll probably get some error. That is my expectation. Namespace statement must end with matching end namespace. Yeah, so is this thing here is actually messing up everything. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, so this is C# syntax. It doesn't work well with Visual Basic. Okay, now let me look for Visual Basic syntax, since we know that this doesn't work. Okay, so this is what I found so far. When you put assert throws, instead of having this angled brackets here, we should be using this thing here of exception. Okay, so replace the angled brackets, put of exception. Okay, this is 1. Oh, I should be using my shortcuts. Okay, and then here have to change in bracket, and then okay, so this is what works. New test delegate of address of sub with no parameters. Okay. So this is assert throws of exception sub with parameters, parameter value. Okay. Let's see. So we'll do this sub XML library selector, get XML lib loader. Now put gibberish here. Okay, this should throw an exception, the right kind of exception. Oh, it passes. Okay. Okay, this is the assert thing. Okay, so it does throw the exception there. It does throw the right exception. So well, I will just I'll put this over here. Credit here. Credit to whoever is here. Haha. Okay, so this is the way to do it. Okay, so whether it's a sub or function, you put your function name here, which is this object, this thing, so it throws the correct exception, and it should do its job. So that's making the exception do its job. Okay, so the exception is right. Okay, so that's the thing. But if we just recompile the thing, we still have an error. Okay, hello. I'll save this. I'll do a .NET test. You'll see that the warning is still there. Okay, see this? Now exception could still result at runtime. So we'll need to do something to about it. Okay, so I have a very crude method in mind. So let's see. It should not change the behavior of the test. So you go to the IXml library selector. Go to the library B4. Okay, ls B4. Okay. So yeah, we have the exception is which is over here. Okay, the exception is here. All right, and it's working correctly. And let's just think about this. Okay, I rather load some default value into this XML library loader first. Okay, I load some default value into this XML library loader. Okay, and then if the XML library loader is the default value, okay, it is some default value. Yeah, if it's the default value, then yeah, I will throw the exception. Okay. So let's see. So instead of using the XML library loader is nothing, I will actually just load some default value here, or yeah, I will use a boolean instead, right? I'll use a boolean instead. So let's go up. Dim is name valid as bool. Okay. Or is name invalid? Okay. Is name invalid, or is desired library invalid as bool? Okay, is desired library invalid equals 1. Okay, or replace as true. Okay, that's CIW true. Okay, let's go up. Okay, this part, okay, I set a boolean that checks if the desired library is invalid. Its default is true, but if I found the library, the boolean becomes false. Okay, so I will have this desired library, if the desired library invalid boolean to be true. Okay, however, once I load this, once I have this thing over here, I will say is desired library invalid equals to false. Okay, and now I'll say okay, I will say if the desired library, okay, so let me go 22 up, yank in word, 22 down, change in word, I'll paste it here. Yay. 22 up, yank in word, 22 down, paste. 22 up, yank in word, 22 down, paste, undo, paste. Yes, finally it got to do the right thing. Okay, go backwards, insert backwards, word is CRW true. Okay, so this thing, okay, let's understand what the code is doing. Okay, the desired library, which is this desired library, by default it is an invalid. It will be invalid, right? But once this thing is valid, once the desired library is valid, then this thing will become false. And then if the desired library is still invalid, I want to throw the exception. Okay, so it should still supply the same thing. I'll do .NET test to check. Everything should be okay. Okay, wow, bool is not defined. Oh, it should be called boolean. Okay, is operator does not accept the type boolean. Okay, so there are two things here. So let me change this to equal, because this is operator here doesn't accept booleans. And 5 up a, so this has to be called boolean, not bool. Okay. Okay, so this thing still passes. The behavior is correct. However, I still want to get this done. So I just assign some random value to it. XML library loader. Yeah, let's just assign a value. Oh, maybe I'll just do it as a property. That's even better. Okay. Private property. XML light loader as IXml light loader. Okay, and then that will be it. Now I'll have the property outside, and then maybe I'll just return it here. Me dot XML light loader. As you see here, XML light loader. Yep. If everything's okay, I should return the me.xml light loader. I hope this works. Yep. Okay, that removes the error value, so that you know, I will not have this null thing. Okay, I will not have the null value. Right, I will not have the null value thing. Okay, and I have this XML library list outside. Okay, yeah, I don't have, I have this XML library list outside, and it's okay. Yeah. So I wonder if this library loader or XML library loader, the XML library loader, it should have a dispose option. So I always want it to dispose before going, just to clean up memory. Okay. This is just in case the memory keeps getting eaten up. Okay. First, I clean up the memory. Oh. Okay, maybe not. That's not a good idea. Because it will be null first before I load this in. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, yes, I still want my dispose function. Okay, this dispose function is supposed to clear memory, so I'll use the if is now. The if okay. Let me see where I can put this. 3 up, 1 up. Delete this. Let me delete the. Let me do clean up over here. Okay, but the thing is this, if I run this function more than one time, right, if I load this function more than one time, I don't want to keep loading the same list over and over again and create new library lists or library loader lists. Okay, so the thing is that if I keep making this, wait a minute, okay. Oh, but okay, no error messages. I'm just very concerned of memory leaks here if I keep running this function again and again. Okay, never mind. I'll think about it. I'll come back. I'll come back when I kind of get done. Okay. So oh, right. Maybe I'll just have a dispose function here. Okay, I'll do that later. My goodness. Okay, I'll stop recording. I'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.